Good morning, everyone. My name is Zheng. I'm the Delta X project manager. We're all very excited to be here. The goal of this workshop is not only to tell you all about Delta X and its amazing data set, but also show you how to access and utilize the data. So hopefully you can apply it to your own research and applications. Thank you for taking the time to be here. And especially for the people who try to install the software and get the data ahead of time. We really appreciate your effort and time. So we hope you find the information useful for your own research and application. I'm going to go through the agenda here and introduce the presenters. So Kathleen already introduced Marc, who will give the overview of the Delta X project. Marc is an expert on vegetation structure and how it varies and interacts with environmental and geophysical variables. Unfortunately, he can't be here, but he will be presenting virtually. Kathleen, our deputy PI, will go through our data management plan and the data archive system. Kathleen's research focuses on applying radar remote sensing to Delta X, or remote sensing and identifying hazard that has significant social impact. She loves Delta X, especially because it focuses on how to rebuild land and save the world deltas. Alex Christensen is going to go through our first tutorial on field data. She has extensive field experience, and she was our boat driver during the campaigns. She's also been leading the workshop organization. Many of you probably email her with questions. Dr. Daniel Jensen is heavily involved in the average processing, campaign planning, and the data analysis. So he will be going over that section with NDVI, surface reflectance, and classification. Next is Dr. Michael Dembina. He will be going over the air SWOT data, like estimating water surface level, slope, and comparing with in-situ data. Dr. Tully Oliver Cabrera, he's also a postdoc at JPL along with Alex and Daniel. He's going to go over UAV SAR data, the water level changes based on UAV SAR interferograms, and related topics. And then we have the two modeling presentations by Kyle Wright, who is a PhD candidate at the University of Texas. He studies environmental and water resource engineering, building, running, and analyzing models in the Atchafalaya Basin would be the main topic of his presentation. And then finally, last but not least, we have Luca Cortesi, who will be presenting the Delft 3D hydrodynamic model. I know there's a lot of interest in that as well. Unfortunately, it only runs on Windows, but not Mac. But he'll be going through the whole process with everyone. I know there's a lot of material to cover, but don't worry, we'll help you get through, getting through all the models and the data. So we'll just all be patient and work together. The instructors will be going around the room in case there's individual questions, and then there'll be 1 to 2 who will be monitoring the virtual room as well. Okay, so before we, Marc is going to go through the overview, I'd like to go around the room and have the attendee just briefly introduce themselves. So, okay.
Do you want to stop sharing so they can faces can be?
I am showing the room on the webcam. Oh, you're right. Okay, I'll stop sharing.
So we'll just pass the mic around. You can just briefly introduce yourself. Tell us.
Hello, everybody. My name is Brendan Ewell. I'm a hydrologist with the Water Institute of the Gulf. We had a staff meeting last 2 days, and I was in this same room.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Hongqing Wang from U.S. Geological Survey, Wetland and Aquatic Research Center. I'm interested in hydrodynamics, water quality, and coupling fishery modeling. And I'm a research ecologist.
I'm Hampton Peel, Louisiana Geological Survey. I'm a mapping scientist, geographer, and I'm here. I'm very excited about these new data packages and learning how to process them because I'm interested in all things mapping. Thank you.
I'm Daniel Jensen. Young already introduced me, but I'm a third-year postdoc at JPL, and I mostly study imaging spectroscopy with Iverson G, but I also do, like our other attendee, basically anything mapping, so a lot of time series analysis with other optical data as well.
Hey everyone, my name is Li Zheng. I'm a graduate student at Louisiana State University. I do numerical modeling that can potentially use the data from Delta X to help with the data validation.
My name is Ogulu. I'm also a graduate student from Louisiana State University, and I'm generally interested in ocean acidification in the Delta region.
Hi, I'm Arif Rabbani. So I'm working as a water resource expert in Duplantis Design Group. So my concentration is mostly surface water modeling. I'm really excited about this workshop.
Hi, my name is Austin Guerin. I'm a coastal engineer at Baird & Associates, and I just thought this would be a very interesting course to attend.
Hi, I'm Kathleen Jones. I'm at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. I'm the deputy PI for this project. I'm interested in radar remote sensing, using radar to look at water level change in the wetlands. That's a particular aspect of this campaign that I'm interested in and that I'm working on. But in general, I've been very interested in coastal subsidence issues and in coastal sustainability. So this project has been the goal of many years of my life. And so I'm very happy to see so many people interested in getting the data and using the data.
Hi, my name is Rory Escovedo. I graduated from LSU in May with a degree in geology, and now I'm at Tulane getting my master's with Dr. Mead Allison in Earth and Environmental Science. I came to this because Dr. Jones is on my master's committee, and so I wanted to learn a little more about all this.
Hi, I'm BJ. I'm from LSU, doing my PhD in Department of Oceanography and Coastal Sciences. My focus is mostly in the SPM in the deltaic, in the Mississippi Delta region, and also other biochemical properties.
Hi everyone, I'm Luca. I'm a PhD candidate from Boston University. I will show you the Del3D model, and mostly in my research, I do sediment transport modeling and marsh accretion.
Hi, I'm Kyle Wright. I'm also one of the presenters. I'm working on my PhD at UT Austin with Paola Pasalacqua, and I research coastal connectivity in river delta systems to understand how they build land.
Hi, my name is Colin Anderson. I'm a master's student at LSU studying coastal and ecological engineering. I work on the actions program with Dr. Wilson, where I'm making a HEC-RAS model of the lower Atchafalaya Basin.
Hi, I'm Surush Sururian from FTN Associates. I graduated from LSU from Department of Oceanography and Coastal Sciences. I'm currently working on hydrodynamic and sediment transport modeling using Delta3D, and I'm very excited to broaden my understanding of coupling of Delta3D with Delta X. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Melissa Martin. I'm the EVS3 mission manager from the ESSPPO office. So that just means I'm from NASA headquarters supporting the program here. I'm very excited to be here. It took us a while to get here financially. I'm getting the money, so I'm really excited to be here with all of you. And I'm also really excited to actually engage and learn how to use the data along with y'all at the same time. So thank you.
Oh, okay, sorry about that. Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Andre Rovai. I work at LSU at Robert Twiley's lab and participated in the Delta X from the very beginning. And that's it. Yeah, thank you.
I'm Greg Snedden. I'm with the USGS Wetland and Aquatic Research Center, and I'm just kind of interested here to see if there's anything I can learn that I'll be able to use in my research.
Morning, I'm Angelina Freeman. I'm with the Louisiana Coastal Protection and Restoration Authority here in Baton Rouge, and we're the state agency that's responsible for all the restoration and protection implementation in Louisiana. So we're very excited about this data set. Glad to be here.
Thank you, everyone. And I want to especially thank our sponsor, NASA Expo, for providing us funding and making this workshop possible. Thanks, Melissa. All right. I have a survey question for all of you guys. Can you raise your hand how many people were able to install the software and download the data successfully?
Okay, so how many people could install the software? Okay, how many people got Google Colab to work? How many people have no idea about the software at all? Anyone? Except Andre? Okay. And then the data. How many people were able to download the data? How many people are planning to download the data today? We have it on a hard drive, so we can transfer it quickly to you if you would like it. So maybe 3 people? Okay.
Thank you. Okay, Mark, are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go. Let's. Okay. Hello, everyone. Sorry I couldn't be here today. I was hit by COVID last week, so I'm here speaking to you from my quarantine in the bedroom. So I'm Marc Simard, so the principal investigator for the Delta X mission. I am also, I guess, an expert in radar remote sensing. I also use a lot of LiDAR, in particular in coastal areas, to look at the interactions between ecosystems, whether it be from herbaceous or woody vegetation, and the hydrodynamics. So Delta X is one of 5 missions that were funded during the NASA's Earth Venture Suborbital program selection, the latest one. So there are 5 of them. The first one is Activate, which looks at aerosol cloud meteorology, decodes the dynamics of chemistry of the summer stratosphere, Delta X, of course, and IMPACT, which investigates the microphysics and precipitation of the Atlantic coast storms, and S-mode, which looks at submesoscale ocean dynamics. So what you see here is that Delta X is the only one of those 5 missions that look at the landscape. The other ones, 3 of them are about the atmosphere. 1 of them is about the ocean. So this is a quite important mission for NASA. And we were able to demonstrate a lot of new measurements that we'll be presenting to you in the next couple of days. So there are 12 co-investigators from 8 different institutions, all of them being from coastal states. First, California, so ourselves from the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. There's myself, Kathleen Jones, which you just met, Ernesto Rodriguez, and David Thompson. We also have from Caltech, Mike Lamb, and this is in collaboration with the University, Louisiana State University, Robert Twilley, the University of Texas in Austin, Paola Pasalacqua, Florida International University, Edward Castaneda, North Carolina, University of North Carolina is Tamlin Pavelski. In Massachusetts, we have from Boston University, Cedric Fichot and Sergio Fagarazzi, and the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, we have Liviu Josen. So we've been observing a significant land loss in coastal Louisiana, as you all know. So this is these are the observations from a Landsat time series running from 1988 through 2018, from which we derived a land loss, total land loss of 2,015 square kilometers, which corresponds to about 56 kilometers square of land loss every year along coastal Louisiana. So Delta X, of course, here comes and look at different processes that provide resilience to the system. So in particular, the goal of Delta X is to measure and predict which parts of the Mississippi River Delta will survive and continue to grow, and which parts will be lost in front of sea level rise. So our first objective here, these objectives, by the way, are looking at the 2 different processes that contribute to the resilience of the system. The first objective is to evaluate the role of vegetation in determining soil accretion rates within deltaic wetlands. The second objective is to evaluate the role of distributary channel network densities and associated sizes of deltaic islands on soil accretion rates. So we have 2 things. The first one is evaluate the role of vegetation, and the other one is more about the delivery of sediment itself. So the Delta X framework implementation goes like this. We have a series of hydrodynamic and ecological models, which are represented here in the middle row of this diagram. And these models are sandwiched between airborne remote sensing measurements, which are at the top row here, and in situ measurements, which are at the bottom row. So the in situ field measurements are used to calibrate and validate the remote sensing data, but also the hydrodynamic and ecological model. The remote sensing here comes and gives us a broad perspective of what's happening, of the processes that are happening on the ground. So Delta X brings the scale of the models from the typical bathtub models to the eco-geomorphic zones.
Something went wrong. Please try again.
So we have 3 aircrafts flying at the same time, almost simultaneously, with several boats in the water and boats on the ground. Those three instruments are AVRIS-NG, which is an imaging spectrometer, which I'll be describing soon, and you'll hear about more later. We have AirSWAT and UAVSAR. Both are radars. The radars in Delta X are used to measure hydrodynamic processes, while AVRIS-NG has two purposes. One is to measure vegetation structure, and the other is to measure water quality, in particular sediment concentrations in the water. And again, we have in situ measurements to calibrate and validate both of these types of measurements. So here are the three instruments. So first we have the UAVSAR, which is a L-band radar installed on a Gulfstream 3 aircraft. It has about 6-meter spatial resolution. And we're using this one to make measurements of water surface elevation in marshes as the tide comes in and out of the system. So we're basically monitoring and following the tide as it comes up north to the wetlands and back out south into the Gulf of Mexico. By the way, each of these instruments correspond to an upcoming NASA spaceborne mission. So in the case of UAVSAR, that will be NISAR, which will be launched in January of 2024. The second instrument is AirSWAT. That's a Ka-band radar interferometer. And this particular instrument measures water surface elevation in open water areas. So we have two instruments here, two radar instruments. The first one, UAVSAR, measures in the wetlands. So it cannot make measurements of water surface elevation in open water, but AirSWAT does. So AirSWAT is in open water areas. That includes channels, rivers, ponds, lakes. So we get water surface elevation from AirSWAT in those regions. AVRIS-NG is an imaging spectrometer. It has 425 bands. Hopefully that's sufficient for you. You guys may hopefully don't have too much memory issues on this sensor, but you learn about it also in the next couple of days. So AVRIS-NG again is used for two purposes. One is to measure vegetation structure, species and structure, and the second purpose is to look at water quality, in particular sediment concentrations in water. And again, this sensor has an upcoming counterpart, which is the Surface Biology and Geology mission. And AirSWAT has the surface water and ocean topography, which is ready for launch at the end of this year. So this is just an animation of the SWAT system. So Delta X, of course, is based on airborne measurements. Only with airborne measurements currently can you make measurements of the tide progressing into a system. Okay, with the aircraft, we're making measurements every half hour, so we can actually follow the tidal wave. With the spaceborne systems, that is a lot more difficult because, for example, this system, SWAT, will be making measurements every 21 days. So clearly, you cannot follow the tide directly. So this is the coverage from these different sensors. The small orange rectangles, the thinny ones, are the AVRIS-NG lines, which cover most of the area that you're seeing here. So Delta X covers two basins within the Mississippi River Delta, the Atchafalaya Basin and the Terrebonne Basin. The larger rectangles, the white, yellow, and pink ones, are from UAVSAR. So this is where we follow the tidal waves within the wetlands. And the other smaller rectangles that you see crossing the larger mosaic of the rectangles is from AirSWAT. And this one, of course, focuses on the open surface areas like the Atchafalaya River, the Wax Lake Outlet, and some other channels within the Terrebonne Basin. So we collected new LiDAR data within the Delta X project last year in January. We seek to improve the digital terrain model in 7 intensive sites on which Delta X focuses. And we are working on the new digital terrain model that hopefully will be ready in within a month or 2. So for Delta X, we bring the ecogeomorphic cell concept. So we dissecate the landscape into small units of about 1 hectare. This is the scale at which most of these processes do act. So there's not really a reason to go every meter or 5 meters like the remote sensing data. So we're averaging our data to these scales here that you see. So we are going to follow trajectories of each of these cells into time. But for the purpose of this particular workshop, you will be working on the pixels directly, so not on these models. So this is what's coming after this workshop, actually. So for each of these ecogeomorphic cells, we will predict if it will fail in the future or survive sea level rise. And for that, we use hydrodynamic models with 2 types of implementation. One is Anuga, the other one is Delft3D. You will hear about both of these implementation and actually run those models. Be able to run those models. You'll most likely be running smaller domains, given that it can take days to make these simulations at the large scale. So we have the remote sensing and in situ data that comes in and populate those cells. And we have the hydrodynamic models that use whatever information is available here to run the model and also give feedback into those cells. And thirdly, we have the ecogeomorphic model, or NUMAR, and this model is actually for vegetation growth and sediment, mineral, and organic soil accretion. So this is the model that at the end will predict the fate of each of these ecogeomorphic cells using the information that's provided here. Okay, we had 2 campaigns that happened last year in March 21st. From March 21st to April 22nd was the spring campaign, and then a fall campaign occurred in August, between August 16th through September 25th. So these campaigns, the period of these campaigns were selected to capture the high discharge of the Mississippi River Delta in the spring and the low discharge in the fall. Coincidentally, the spring campaign was during the low vegetation biomass, but high discharge, and the fall campaign, we had low discharge, but high biomass. So we have 2 very different hydrodynamic contexts here to deal with. So we really try to capture the range of conditions of this system. So clearly, as you know, we had Hurricane Ida. So the campaign in the fall was somewhat interrupted, but we were still able to collect all of the required data to conduct our research. This, however, this interruption offers the opportunity for research, since we do have the data just prior and after Ida. So there's potential for great scientific outcome with this data set. Okay, so I think this is my last slide. Yes, this is the agenda. So I believe, Young, if you want to take over. Thank you very much, everyone, and I hopefully have fun learning about the data sets and the models from Delta X. And we really hope you guys are going to use that data and you're going to find it useful. If you have any questions, please send me an email or contact Alex Young or Kathleen. Thank you very much.
I'm going to talk about Delta X's data management plan and data access. Of course, many of you already know about the data access because you've done a lot of the download yourself. NASA has a policy that all Earth Venture Suborbital missions have to have a data management plan. And that means that they have to provide details about how the data was acquired, where they have to provide the data, they have to provide information about how the data was processed, about the quality of the data, and it all has to be available free and open access. So Delta X at the start, before we ever even collected data, we developed a management plan that detailed all of the data that we intended to collect in the field and from the airborne instruments, and the models that we intended to use, and the pathways from the field data and the raw data from the aircraft all the way through to the final data products. And of course, that's a living document. So as we've gone along, we've updated that so that it stays current with what was actually collected in the field and what we're actually doing. So if you look at this flow down from the data sources to the final output, at every stage, these data products will be made available, openly available through the NASA data archive centers. So what you see is that we're going to start by providing you with the raw data and then follow all the way through to providing you the models and the output of the models. And of course, we realize that people who use the data aren't necessarily interested in starting from raw data. Many people just want to start with the models, or they want to start with the products after processing. So the details about how each of those products is arrived at will be provided with the data products and the models whenever they are published. So as Mark said, we collected data from 2 campaigns, the first in spring of 2021 and the second in fall. In the spring, we collected 3 different tidal stages. The idea was that you have high discharge, and so you have more water flowing across the landscape. And so there was interest in getting both low tide, high tide, and intermediate tides. We collected the radar data simultaneously so that you could see how the water moved within the open channels with air SWAT, and then out of the open channels and into the wetlands with UAVSAR. And AVERS-NG was used to collect information about turbidity in the waters and about the vegetation. And that data was the surface, the water turbidity was collected, some of it in combination with the radars, but also the vegetation was collected over a much more extensive area, and it was collected asynchronously. So in the fall, the idea was that with low discharge, you would have less overbank flow, and so you'd need less acquisitions. And so we had planned to have 2 acquisitions, one at different parts of the tidal stage. In the end, UAVSAR did not show up before Hurricane Ida, and so Air SWAT did. There were some issues with the aircraft for UAVSAR, and so in the interest of simply collecting the data, we started collecting data with Air SWAT before we started collecting it with UAVSAR. Once UAVSAR instrument was fixed, however, we had a hurricane, and so everybody rushed out of the area, all the aircraft left, and afterwards UAVSAR was repaired, but we had to fly out of Houston because of the problems with airports in Louisiana. At the same time, We took some of our reserves and we funded a second campaign for AirSWAT so that it could collect simultaneously with UAV SAR. So AirSWAT had both before and after Hurricane Ida acquisitions, and UAV SAR had after Hurricane Ida. And of course, Avers-NG was here both before and after, so it has before and after Hurricane Ida. So it's quite an extensive and valuable data set, I think, for more than just Delta X's uses. I'm not going to go through the field campaign in detail. A whole lot of in situ data was collected, and Alex is going to talk about that. I included in the package just for completeness so that whenever these are posted online, they're available to everyone. Here you can see there are 3 pages of the in situ data collection. I've talked about the open data access requirement. The other requirement is that all of this data be archived. And so to make these standardized, they are archived in one of the NASA Distributed Data Archive Centers. The Delta X is archived at the Oak Ridge National Lab, DAC, and this repository will archive all of the final process data sets and models. And all of the information from the data management plan for a particular product is included in a product description document that goes with that product that you download whenever you download that product. This is so that the data can be archived long after the Delta X mission is over. So 10 years from now, you can still get this data set because it's archived at a center that is maintained by NASA over the long term. This is just an example of what the data set will look like whenever you get to the archive center. You can search for the archive center simply by doing a Google search on Delta X DAAC. That simple. It's the first thing that comes up. There is another way that you can find the data, and I'm sorry, I want to say a few things about this. This page will show you links to browse through the data, to look at the data in different ways. And in addition to these published final data sets, the DAC hosts preprints of the data that are not in the list whenever you do this search on the website, but they can be accessed if you have a link. And that's so that we can do quality assurance on the products before they're delivered to the general public. So we've given you some of the links to that pre-release data set so that you can use it in this workshop. So that's another way to get the data, but you have to have access to that particular link during that time frame. So in order to access these data sets, you need to have an Earth Data login. That's also a NASA site for accessing a lot of different data sets, not just from NASA, but from other centers that have allowed their data to be hosted through the NASA archives. It's very easy to do. People who've taken this tutorial will have already done it probably, but it's a useful thing to have an Earth Data account. You can also access these data sets through a search through the Earth Data website. They have map searches that you can do, and so it's quite easy to access this different ways. In addition, the Delta X project maintains a searchable database for both preliminary and final data products. So this allows us to post preliminary data products, for example, before they are even provided to the DAC. And if you do that same search for Delta X DAC, you can see that there is a Delta X data site where you can find links to the data there, or actually you can find a link to the DAC if you want to only work with the final release data sets. in order to do that, you go to the Delta X data site. There's a data tab. You can do a search at that point, and then that will take you to a map where you can select the different data types that you want to search on. At current, this data search only has the pre-Delta X campaign data on it. We've been very focused on getting the data to the DAC, but we are going to update this search so that you can find the data there also. And then lastly, NASA has a requirement that any public presentation or publication that we do from the Delta X project has to make all of the data that's used, all of the models that are used, available at the time of presentation. So that's actually, as you can imagine, not so easy to do. So a lot of the times you present data that has not been posted on the DAC. And so the website, the Delta X website, maintains a list of the presentations and links to the data sets that you can find with that presentation. So as an example, you go to science and you can look for publications or presentations. If you look at the publications or the presentations, there will be links in some cases to view the data and the model in addition to the DOI for the particular data set. Some of these don't have them. That probably means that they use the pre-Delta X data sets, and it wasn't necessary to provide that data. And then some of them don't have those links because the links are actually in the production, in the publications or the presentations. So in summary, I hope, across the course of this whole workshop, you're going to be shown how to use all of this data. And this is, we've tried to make it as easy as possible for people to get all of the data that we collect so that the greater community is able to use it even during the time that the Delta X is underway. So I think that's the end of my presentation.